Alrighty, good morning, people. It's early in the morning, but I wanted to do this very special episode of the Dan Dawson Show. So I'm going to work through a thought process with you. This is something me and Dr. Fax talk about, and it'll be on our podcast whenever we get it up and running. But I watched two grown men cry over something that didn't honestly directly affect them. I got thinking. LeBron James was raised by a single mother. Now, ladies, before you even call me sexist or anything like that, or you think I'm coming down on single mothers are some of the strongest women I've ever met. Honestly, they are. You know, they work very hard. They take care of their kids, their family. Nothing but applause for single mothers. Nothing but applause. Much respect. But the after effect is when you don't surround those boys you're raising with good, strong men, see, they don't learn how to become a man. They pick up the aspects of the parents that's raising them. So if you only have the woman in the house, you don't have the man, a good man, who's, you know, raised hopefully by another man, another good man. They take on certain characteristics. And, you know, let me just say, hey, I was a single father. I raised my daughter by myself. So she went to LA to visit her mother and her aunties, right? And one of her aunties calls me. She goes, your daughter has a lot of male characteristics. Like, well, yeah, I'm raising her by myself in a whole different state. So she shoots guns. She works on cars. She's taking on my characteristics because I'm the one that raised her. So I'm not taking a shot at anybody because I've been in that situation myself. And I know the results. But, so what you get is you get these two grown men. LeBron James was raised by a single mother. Getting on national TV crying over a situation where that didn't directly affect him, where he should have been doing critical thinking. There's no shot against LeBron. He does a lot of great community work. He donates a lot of his money and a lot of his time to underprivileged kids and stuff. That's great. That's one of the characteristics of men who are raised by single mothers. See, that's a good characteristic. Not all of them are bad. But when you have grown men, LeBron James, Doc Rivers, on national TV crying about something that doesn't directly affect them, where they should be using critical thinking to help the situation instead of getting on TV and being all emotional. But see, they've learned to be emotional. And men like this, right, what'll happen is they'll cry over the silliest shit. You see these NBA players now. We're afraid to leave the house, and you know, because we're going to be killed. And they're crying, and it's like, oh, those are the ones raised by single mothers. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. If you look at their history, I guarantee they were raised by single mothers, or their mother was the dominant force in the house, which is just like being raised by a single mother. So, because we're doing a thought exercise, so you'll see how I'm kind of processing as I go along. I've looked at it and I thought, you know, what woman would want to be with a man who thinks some phantom cop might shoot his multi-million-dollar ass? So, I was just thinking about that. I was like, you know, what would happen if I told my old lady, honey, I'm afraid to leave the house because I might get pulled over and killed by the cops. Could you run to Walmart? Come on, people, let's get real. But see, this is the only way they know to interact. The only way they know to interact. When you meet an over-emotional man, and men like this, right, they'll cry about that. But challenge them on it, they become even super over-emotional. And they go right off the handle and want to fight and get all, I'm gonna mess you up and no, and but they run to those emotions. And it's not just me. I'm pretty sure there's research that will show that a child raised by a single parent will take on the characteristics of that parent. My own life's an example, like I said. I'm not ashamed of it, very proud of it. Proud I could do it. It's very hard, so I know what those single mothers are going through. It's hard for a man to raise a daughter, trust me, to raise a girl, because there's all kinds of stuff that go on with women that men don't understand. But one thing I did try to do was surround her with good women. You know, good women who I wasn't romantically involved with. That was a key thing for me. But no, it's just a little thought I had, and they're acting like women. And I don't understand it. I don't think it makes for a good representation of men, of black men. that's just kind of where I am with it. I was watching this other thing, and if you look, these little spoiled kids, probably most of them come from single parent homes, who are out here challenging grown men like Dan Bongino to fights. So you're going to challenge an I think it was SF, Navy SEAL or something like that, ex-CIA, to a fight. Of course, it wouldn't have been a one-on-one fight. But if you challenge that man to a one-on-one fight, I think I'm a very skilled fighter. Dan Bongino will probably snap my neck in under 3 seconds. Let's just be realistic. Of course, I'd bite his fingers, but kick him in the shins, do something. But that's what you get. You get that over-emotional aspect. If you look at the NBA, that's what we're seeing now. And it really trips me out because you look at the WNBA. Have you seen one of those ladies on screen crying yet? This is so horrible. I feel like I can't leave the house and black men are being targeted. And Doc Rivers, we can't even live certain places. Doc Rivers, I'm pretty sure you don't live in effing Compton. Come on, stop lying. You don't live in Compton. You don't live in Watts. Come on, let's just be honest. It's just a little ridiculous to me, and it's bad representation as a black man because these men, it's no fault of theirs. They just don't know what it means to be a man. Could you imagine coming home telling your husband, honey, so-and-so was shot in New York City today. Some person he doesn't even know, and he just breaks down crying and goes into histrionics. Honey, I'm so afraid to leave the house. I can't do it. I can't do it. Oh, it's ridiculous, man. They need to stop that shit. Something else about those NBA players. Their minds changed real quick when those owners came out and said, well, if you don't play, we're not going to pay you. Then they're back on the court. I saw Chris Broussard, Shannon Sharpe, and Skip Bayless come out. Well, they realized that they would have more impact on the court and they would have more of a voice if they played. Like, no, they didn't. That's not what they realized. They realized this was going to have an impact on their payday. On their payday. So let's go into something else while we're here. As long as we're here. I've noticed on my Facebook feed, right, all these people talking about all this revolution and all this and blah, blah, blah. They work a good state job. If they work a good state job, they're not leaving those jobs. They're just sending these kids out here to get destroyed. Because now, look, federal charges are starting to come down. So I would challenge anybody who works a good state job, and this goes for NBA players, NFL players. I think Russell Wilson might have stuck his foot in his mouth. He's another emotional man. Leave those jobs. Resign from the NBA. Retire from the NFL. And get out there in the streets and protest if you're really with that movement. You know what I'm saying? So, if not, you're just a hypocrite. That's all you are, a hypocrite. Get out there in the streets, protest. Go to Kenosha. Come to Seattle. Minnesota. Go to one of those places and quit the NBA, protest. If you work a state job, you don't have to quit your job. Just take 2 weeks of vacation, go do it. And when you get arrested on those federal charges and the state fires you and you lose your retirement and your health care, you'll think differently. But that's why they don't do it. Because they're willing to talk shit and push these kids to go and do it. Because understand, they're hitting people with federal charges. So a lot of these kids, talking 20 years in prison, in federal prison. You come out, your life is going to be ruined behind a movement. So going back to the NBA real quick, and I'm going to wrap it up because I know I'm floating here, but like I said, it's an exercise in thought process. Where was I going? Oh, so it's an exercise in thought process. Something else I've noticed, right? Something else I've noticed. With the NFL, now they're coming out saying, well, we might boycott the first one weekend and Russell Wilson, if there was a game this weekend and we wouldn't play, you're losing fans. People are walking away. Even black people. So keep on with your foolishness and your nonsense and let your emotional side take over. Like I always tell my nephews, tell my daughter, my nieces, make the smart move, not the emotional move. Use the 90-10 rule. The 90-10 rule is if you make the smart move, 90% of the time you're going to win. If you make the emotional move, 10% of the time you're going to win. Who knows? Maybe this is one of those 10%. And the NBA and these guys get what they want. And we get rid of the police, ICE, all these people. which, you know, which would explain why all their guns and ammo are gone. But yeah, no, that was just my thing and my thought process is these are emotional men leading this movement, which makes sense now why they joined and backed a movement led by women, non-black women, rich women. So it kind of explains it to me now. So, all right, thank you for watching this very discombobulated and thought process episode of the Dan Dawson Show. I really appreciate it. So remember to like, subscribe, share. So thank you. I'll be putting out more episodes later on.